Matthew chapter 26 verse 47 to 56 tells the story of the events leading to Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane. Before the arrest, Jesus retreated to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. In this moment of anguish and anticipation, he poured out his heart to God, seeking strength and surrendering to the divine will. One of the most poignant expressions of Jesus surrendering to God's plan in the Garden of Gethsemane is described in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 26 verse 39. Jesus prayed, saying, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." It encapsulates his willingness to accept God's plan, despite the personal cost. Jesus' prayer teaches us the importance of seeking God's guidance and finding solace in him, even in the face of impending trials. Judas Iscariot, a disciple of Jesus, led a formidable crowd armed with swords and clubs, acting on the orders of the chief priests and elders to apprehend Jesus. This is chilling, as it comes from the religious leaders who should know the truth. Judas met with the chief priests covertly and agreed to betray Jesus, driven by greed and disillusionment, and identify him with a kiss. The meeting took place shortly before the Passover feast, and he was paid 30 pieces of silver. Matthew chapter 26 verse 14-16. He had been a close companion of Jesus, sharing in his teachings and ministry. This act highlights the depth of Judas' treachery, as he uses an act of affection to signal Jesus' identity to the arresting party. His act of betrayal, sealed with a kiss, serves as a poignant reminder of how proximity to Jesus does not guarantee loyalty. It challenges us to reflect on our own faithfulness and commitment to Christ. Peter, one of Jesus' disciples, retaliated in response to the arrest. Jesus rebuked Peter, instructed him to put away his sword, and denounced violence. Jesus then healed the servant, demonstrating his compassion even in the face of betrayal and imminent suffering. He also spoke of fulfilling Scripture, indicating that his arrest is part of a divine plan. Jesus addresses the crowd, pointing out their cowardice in coming against him with weapons as if he were a criminal. He noted that he had been teaching in the temple, and they did not seize him then. All the disciples abandoned Jesus except for Peter, fulfilling Jesus' earlier prediction that they would forsake him and Peter would deny him 3 times before the rooster crows. Peter followed him far from behind. He surprisingly entered the courtyard of the high priest, sat around the fire with the soldiers, where Jesus was being questioned by the religious leaders. Maybe he was trying to see what would happen to Jesus and also to show his loyalty to him, which is questionable. Despite his earlier boasts that he would never deny Jesus, Peter succumbed to the pressure and denied knowing him to protect himself. This was a moment of weakness for Peter, but later he repented and became a strong and faithful follower of Jesus. As we reflect on this scripture, we are called to examine our own faithfulness in times of trial and to remember that Jesus faced betrayal, abandonment, and suffering for our sake. This act of betrayal reminds us of the frailty of human nature and the dangers of succumbing to worldly temptations. Despite knowing the imminent suffering and injustice he would face, Jesus willingly surrendered himself to the arresting authorities. This act of submission showcases his humility, obedience, and unwavering commitment to fulfilling God's plan of redemption. Jesus underwent 7 trials, or a series of legal proceedings, before his crucifixion. The religious trials: Jesus was first brought to Annas, the former high priest, who questioned him about his disciples and doctrine. Then he was taken to Caiaphas, the high priest, where he faced accusations from false witnesses. During this trial, Jesus affirmed his identity as the Messiah. The Sanhedrin, the Jewish ruling council, convened to formally condemn Jesus for blasphemy, leading to a decision to hand him over to the Roman authorities. Civil trials: Jesus was presented to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, as the Sanhedrin did not have the authority to execute anyone. Pontius Pilate found no basis for a charge against him but sent him to Herod, the ruler of Galilee. Herod Antipas questioned Jesus but received no answers. He ridiculed Jesus and then sent him back to Pilate to be sentenced. Pilate questioned Jesus about whether he was the king of the Jews. Jesus responds calmly, affirming his identity without engaging in defense, embodying the prophecy of Isaiah chapter 53 verse 7. Pilate, recognizing the jealousy of the Jewish leaders and the innocence of Jesus, attempts to release him. The crowd was given a choice between Jesus and Barabbas, a notorious prisoner. They chose Barabbas, demonstrating how easily people can be swayed by the crowd. Pilate, seeking to absolve himself of responsibility, washes his hands in front of the crowd, declaring himself innocent of Jesus' blood. The crowd then takes on the responsibility, saying, "His blood be on us and our children," highlighting the gravity of their choice and the collective rejection of Jesus. After the sentencing, Jesus was mocked, beaten, and crowned with thorns by Roman soldiers before being led to his crucifixion. These trials illustrate the moral complexity faced by Pilate, who struggles with the decision to condemn an innocent man under pressure from the crowd. As we reflect on this occasion, let us be encouraged to follow in Jesus' footsteps, placing our trust in God's plan even in the face of adversity. Thanks for passing by. Please click the like and subscribe buttons as a way of showing appreciation for me as a content creator. The YouTube algorithm will be triggered, showing the video to more would-be viewers. By so doing, this channel will grow.